So, all right, everybody, welcome to the podcast. On this podcast, I got Geroge Rice, who is the owner, one of the owners of 5x5 Brewing over here in Mission, Texas. And the reason why I got him on is because he sent me an email the other day about the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. And I wanted him to touch a little bit more in depth on this and exactly who it's for, what it can do, and how you can take advantage of it. So, George, please introduce yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Geroge Rice. I'm Director of Operations and one of the co-owners at 5x5 Brewing. The reason why, again, we're doing this podcast is highly important, especially for our region. The more businesses that we get involved with this, the better off economically we do as a whole and as a community. So everyone's been saying we're all in this together. So it's part of the reason why Josh and myself are trying to get this information out there regarding the SBA loan, emergency relief loan, and some of the benefits it might have. So from my understanding, anyone that's economically, the entire U.S. right now is declared pretty much an economic disaster relief zone. Hidalgo County is already on the website. You go to SBA.gov and click on disaster relief. When you input your county, Hidalgo County already comes up, as well as Stark County and Cameron County, from what I understand, and Williston as well. From there, you put in your application process. This is for small businesses. Doesn't matter if you have 1 employee or 100 employees or more, you're able to apply for this. The benefits are actually, not the benefits, but the program's actually really good. The loan is at a 3.25%. It could be used for rent, utilities, payroll, and accounts payables. So it's a pretty broad spectrum loan. And from what I understand and what I'm being told from what I'm reading, is that the loan is forgivable if you do not lay off your employees, and it's forgivable on the amount that is used for payroll and essential items.
Interesting. So this is available for everybody right now, right here in the Hidalgo County.
Yeah, this is available for all businesses. If you believe you're getting hit economically because of the pandemic, you're eligible. I recommend for all businesses to apply because this is going to have an economic ripple effect on every industry, regardless of what it is. Right now, it's hitting the hospitality industry hard. It's starting to hit different aspects of the production industry, including myself. You know, we're a production-focused brewery, and since 98% of our clientele is from the hospitality industry, we're being hit as well. So anyone that believes they're being adversely affected because of the pandemic and the economic downturn will be eligible for this loan, from what I was advised.
Okay, so I will link that website down below on the actual description. But also, did you hear anything about Governor Abbott talking about not selling alcohol anymore, or is that a rumor?
Are you talking about the post that we had on Facebook?
Right.
Yeah, that was a prank.
Oh, jeez, man. That's the
we're trying to lighten the mood a little bit, man.
I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, if you actually click on the link, it tells you you've been pranked.
I got you. Yes. If you know anything about these guys over here at 5x5, you know that they're pranksters and stuff. So, but
yeah, I'm sorry. We're all trolls at heart.
Nah, no worries, man. But also, I wanted to touch on when we met the other day. You had written a long post on Facebook, and I asked you to tell me in layman's terms what it meant, and I thought that was super interesting. Can you touch on that?
Oh, are you talking about the medical thing?
Yes.
Was it like an 11-page post, pretty much?
Yeah, it was a super long post. I was like, whoa. I got in paragraph 3, and I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, it's really hard to read. It's really long. I've read it twice, but that's because I'm obligated to, because it was written by my brother. My little brother's an MD, has an MBA, which is a very unique match. He's a medical professional, but he's also has a master's in business administration. From a very, very accredited university, one of the best ones in the U.S. for medical MBAs. And so he wrote a long article to the Wall Street Journal. The editorial board refused to release it because they said it was too long, but they had a lot of issues with the content. And basically it was talking about the shortfalls and why this pandemic is going to get worse before it gets better. And a lot of it had to do with hospitals not being able to access the testing kits. So right now, tests take anywhere between 2 to 5 days to get back the results. And that's through a testing firm or a testing agency that has been accredited by the CDC and the FDA. The problem is that there's tests out there that can do turnarounds within 60 minutes, but they're not CDC or FDA approved because of regulation imposed back in, I believe, 2012. And they can't get around these loopholes, so they're not approved yet. So they're still going through the bureaucratic system that is government. Government never moves fast.
Yeah.
That's a very, very painful lesson that we're currently learning, and that I've known for years, and apparently a lot of American people are getting a quick dose of. So there's these tests that are actually available that are 60-minute turnarounds that we could be flooding into our hospitals down here. And the reason why that's important is that the faster we're able to identify individuals as, infected with the coronavirus, the faster we're able to isolate them, the faster we're able to notify the families and isolate them as well, and to kind of stop the spread. Unfortunately, government is kind of in the way of this, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. From what I understand, they are trying to streamline it, and they are trying to get it past all the legal means. It's just painful. And my brother's take on this is that you have flattening the curve, which is what we're currently doing. Shut down traffic, shut down, everything, flatten the curve, social distancing, isolation, quarantine, curfews, flatten the curve, flatten the curve, flatten the curve. And the reason why you want to flatten the curve is that you do not overload our medical facilities. And it makes sense. You do not want, the Valley doesn't want 10,000 patients going into DHR, McAllen Medical, and, a third of them needing ventilators. That's not going to happen. We don't have that. And a lot of people are going to be horribly exposed if we have that. So that's the purpose of flattening the curve. The problem is that it comes at a cost, and the cost is economical. A lot of people are like, well, hey, you can't put cost of life. Well, you're right, you can't. The problem is that if the cost becomes too overbearing to the economy and to the society, now you have economic collapse. When you have economic collapse, now you have more hospitals that go under. You have less availability. So there comes a point in a time when flattening the curve actually works against itself.
Interesting.
When you trash the economy so much that even if you did flatten the curve, it's going to bounce right back up because there's no way to sustain everything else.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a very interesting time that we're living through. Nobody's ever gone through this, and I think we can really see the government and local governments kind of like, what the hell's going on? Because I'm trying to find credible sources, and what I hear is I hear the he said, she said thing, and I can't get accurate information. So that's why I'm reaching out to people that are in our community that are credible to try to get this message out and just, really try to get credible information out.
This is a really horrible mix of, I'm a history buff. Most military guys are. But this is a horrible mix of 1918 and 1929 mixed together in one. The entire landscape of United States society is going to be utterly changed after this. Nothing's going to be the same regarding education, regarding, the economy, regarding military, regarding, our healthcare. Everything's going to be different.
In your opinion, if we were to go through a recession and this pandemic gets worse, what do you foresee within the next year or 5 years?
With our current leadership that we have, federal, state, and local, I think they will push. I think there's a strong understanding that local small business drives the economy. I think people are starting to realize that. I think it's been a while since that's been emboarded, and I think our leadership has seized that. So I think they're going to do everything they can do to make sure that, the entrepreneur spirit comes back quickly. And that's the advantage of living in an American society and living in a capitalist society, is that we pivot quickly. Entrepreneurs, businessmen pivot quickly, and, they provide services that people are going to want, and that increases revenue, that increases traction, that increases the economy. So this is America. We're going to bounce back quick. We're going to bounce back quicker than anyone. We're going to bounce back quicker than Italy. China, Russia will bounce back very fast. The downturn is that we're probably going to get hit the hardest, especially because of flattening the curve, which is something that we need to do to keep our at-risk population safe. But it's probably not going to be, next year is not going to be nice. It's going to be a rough year. We're already forecasting, right now we're at 100% shutdown. So our revenue stream is completely shut off 100% with the brewery. And that's because all the restaurants are closed. But even if they do open up in the next, 20, 60, or 90 days, we're not expecting it to go back to the way it was. It's going to be a very, very slow ramp up. We're not going to get back to the numbers that we were back in January or November before all this kicked off.
So what your advice to small business owners right now, what would they be?
So right now, the government is, they're seeing what's happening. They understand that, we're spiraling into a recession and possibly a Great Depression because of this, worse in 2008 and potentially worse in 1929, depending on what we do. So they are injecting a large amount of capital into the business industry and into the economy. Let it be the tax credits they're giving families right now, and to the checks they're giving, or the increase in unemployment benefits, and all the benefits they're giving to small businesses, and yes, even some corporate businesses as well. And the reason they're doing that is trying to stimulate the economy and pretty much like shock it. Okay, get back to work, let's go, boom, right, and get it going again. It's critical for small businesses, especially here in the Valley. We're in one of the largest growing economies in the United States. We're going to get hit hard by this recession. We need to bounce back from it quickly so we can continue progressing as a region, as the Valley. And so it's extremely important and critical that we have as many small businesses as possible down here in the Valley take advantage of these federal programs. New York's taking advantage of it. LA's taking advantage of it. All these big metropolitan areas are taking advantage of this. We need to be advocating it amongst business owners, even if they're competitors. It doesn't matter. We're in this together, as they keep on saying. The more businesses that we have that apply for this, the more businesses that get it, the more businesses that get access to it, means the more of our guys are going to be working, means more revenue for our local economies and local municipalities. It's a win-win-win-win situation across the board. Now, granted, the federal government's taking the financial debt on this, and sooner or later that's going to have to get paid, but that's a long-term problem, and this is a short-term fix.
Yeah. Well, George, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, and I just have one more question. Some people are saying to not go out and support your local restaurants and small businesses because it's the potential to be able to spread more of the coronavirus. The way to be able to support them is not to go out, and by that, we'll get through this faster. What are your thoughts about that?
Okay, so this is the issue with coronavirus. Is it deadlier than the flu? Yes. Is it the deadliest virus out there? No. What makes this different and what makes it deadly is that it lasts a long, long time. This virus is extremely, extremely resilient. It lasts a long time on surface, and it's extremely contagious. So it's different than H1N1. It's different than the bird flu. It's different than the swine flu, where they did have higher mortality rates. The problem was that they weren't nearly as contagious, and they didn't last nearly as long as this one. You can have this virus for 2 weeks and not even know it.
Yeah, wow.
Now, the people are saying do complete lockdown. Again, that goes into the article my brother wrote. Sooner or later, you go into complete lockdown, you shut everything off. Like, that's it, staying home, don't go out, stay there, bang. Okay, yes, it could potentially work, but you're going to have economic collapse afterwards. And because of that economic collapse, it's going to bounce back hard and heavy and strong. And now it's even worse because now we don't have the financial means to combat it. So it needs to be 50-50. Flattening the curve only works to a certain point.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people think that's heartless, and I can understand that. But, as a military guy myself, you have to be able to triage situations, and you have to be able to look at things subjectively. Flattening the curve is a good idea, but you can't take it to too much of an extreme, because if you do kill our economy, if you do kill our revenue stream, how are we going to pay literally, how are we going to pay to keep, these families afloat? How are we going to pay to treat these critically ill individuals if there's no hospitals open because they're all tanked? The financial system completely tanks. Where are they going to get the money from to run this?
Right.
I'm not sure. Again, it sounds really, really heartless, and that's why it's a really difficult article to read, because it's so long and it outlines, kind of, it corresponds, both of them. Like, flattening the curve is important, but it comes at a price, and you can't go too long. What the flattening curve is supposed to be for, it's supposed to be a short-term fix. It's not the solution. It's supposed to buy us time. It's supposed to buy us time for a vaccine. It's supposed to buy us time to be able to acclimate to the virus. And honestly, there's probably not going to be a vaccine for a year or so.
Yeah. Well, George, once again,
I don't think anyone has the right answer on this, man. It's a very, very difficult situation. Just, people need to be extremely careful with sensationalism. I think we're already seeing that right now. We have our supply chains are being strained because of mass hoarding of water, eggs, toilet paper, of all things. People need to be very community minded right now. Wash your hands, keep your distance from people, be very cognizant. HEB is doing a phenomenal job at applying all those basic methods. They're washing their hands all the time. They're encouraging the employees to wash their hands, and the customers wash their hands. They're sanitizing everything. That is how you spread it. We can keep, commerce is open, keep revenue streams coming in, we can keep people working, but at the same time, we can limit the spread by the virus, but just following basic sanitation and basic biology concepts that most of us learned in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade.
Yep. I completely agree. George, any other insights you want to share with us?
Yep. Stop picking your nose. Wash your hands. Stop being dirty.
George, I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate all your insight. Appreciate it, brother.
You too, Hoss. Catch you later.
All right. Y'all stay safe.